Welcome to another episode of the Cultivator Culture. We are Monday night lights again because Coach
Back to back.
Greg had a track meet on Saturday. The boys had youth football bowl games on Sunday, and Trey, who is our guest today, could never do Sunday at 7 a.m. So without further ado, we are
Smart.
very honored to welcome Trey Johnson, a Steinbrenner alumni for what was the year that you graduated? 2014?
2013. You were close though,
I
man.
was at CTE's for real. I told you. We just went over this off the air. But Trey went on to play his college football at Villanova. And he was also very fortunate and blessed to have an opportunity to play in the NFL with two teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers
The Steelers.
and the Denver Broncos.
Yes, sir.
Aside from that,
Broncos country, let's ride.
Trey got a fantastic education at Villanova University, where he was able to parlay that into a career in financial planning. But as we all know, life is all about contingency planning, not financial planning. Because if we were all on plan A, then we wouldn't be sitting here on a podcast, right? We'd all be counting all of our money, dipping our toes in the sand, right? So we are very happy to have Trey on.
Happy to be here, man. I appreciate the introduction, Coach Austin.
Was it good?
Yeah, that was good,
That was
man.
quite the introduction.
Well, listen,
and can I
yeah.
just say,
He
can I
just
just say
complained.
how cool it is? If you look in the background, you see the George Steinbrenner Letterman's letter up right above the Villanova helmet. It's awesome to see
Old
like
school.
the roots that got you to where you were
and
in life.
if you even look at it, man, it's in chronological order. So that plaque is actually my little league plaque. That's the Carrollwood Hurricanes.
Oh boy.
And then obviously you got the George Steinbrenner. Underneath that is the Villanova, and then that football is the interception I caught with the Broncos.
Ooh,
Oh, that's
man.
awesome.
The
Yeah,
interception heard around Lutz. I think we all,
literally.
yeah, we literally had, I'm sure you got hundreds of texts after that, but you would have to know that not only the coaching staff, but the whole city of Tampa was watching that game because of you. And when that happened, even for us, we were on vacation in Orlando, and we went up from the swimming pool in the lazy river to watch that game. And I'll tell you what, we all were like, no, we can always go back to the pool. This is something that we have to see him go through. And boy, I can't tell you how much the boys and Ainsley was with us, was screaming, and everyone at that moment, like I said, we all felt like we made it at that point. So
yeah, man, that was definitely an amazing moment. Like a lot of people don't realize, I made a post about it when it first happened, but like I had counted like how long it was. But it had been over a year since I even touched the football field, because that was right after my surgery. So like that was my first game ever, like actually playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
So like for that to happen, you know what I mean? Like I was on top of the world, man. That was definitely a high.
Oh yeah. Well, and we were talking about it earlier before you got on. Those moments, right? That 15 minutes of fame is often and always followed by the 16th minute, right?
Yeah.
And we're always saying, what are you going to do?
Never talked about.
Yeah. What do you do in the 16th minute? Like, where does life take you after a moment like that? And tell us where you're at. Tell us what you're doing nowadays.
So life took me a lot of different ways. So I finished playing football right when COVID hit 2020. Went into financial advising the later part of 2020. So did that for 3 years. 2023, last year, I started working for a company called Elevate. Elevate is across the entire US and it plants in different cities. This is the first year that it's here in Tampa. And it's a leadership and character development class, mentorship, program where we focus on four main pillars. So we do college and career prep. So I'm a teacher at Middleton High School. So it's crazy to think that this kid who honestly hated school is now teaching kids who also
awesome.
hate school for the most part, you know? So in a condensed way, that's pretty much how it ended up where it is. You know, I got some businesses that I'm running too on the side, of course, you know, the entrepreneurship in me, but the main thing is and has always been mentorship, you know, really following after your footsteps. I know you worked in technically you're a chiropractor, but to
Mhm.
me, you've always been a mentor and always been coach. And you know, the same with Coach Puskins, even though you ain't no chiropractor, man.
I make the big bucks in the classroom like you.
Yeah, yeah. But we had a lot of great times together, man, and us being able to, because a lot of people don't know, Coach Puskis used to play DB. I know he don't look like it, but
Hey.
my freshman year, Coach Puskis used to coach me, and that was when he was still moving around a little bit. So don't slip, man. Coach Puskis is real athletic. Well, it was real athletic. I don't know if he got it no more, but
I got to work back. So legit, I'm not even joking with you. I've started to sneak off at night and work out on my own because my son's getting stronger than me and I can't let
oh
him.
no, yeah,
So
you
it's
can get
crazy.
that.
He's
He's
getting big.
huge. He's
That's because
huge.
you got them big behind feet. I've been telling you you're gonna be
You did
big.
tell me. I don't know if you remember this. So I worked at Jefferson High School,
Mhm.
and funniest story in the world, I used to use my speed as my to fill my liquor cabinet because I
Mhm.
would race guys in the school or in the neighborhood in Carver City for a bottle. It was the
Mhm.
funniest thing in the world, but that's how we got our liquor cabinet filled when we were newlyweds. And then we had an incident at the daycare that Gregory was at where they legitimately would bring me the wrong kid every day. And I'm like, we got to get out of here. Like this just isn't the place. This is not the
Not a good
look.
look.
so so I interviewed with Floyd and Perez, and uh, and that day Floyd called you over, and you were a freshman, about 140 pounds,
No, no, I
and
weighed 95 pounds coming in.
you were a small dude,
I was a
and
twig.
you walked me and my wife around the school and showed us around a little bit.
Bro, that's a throwback. I actually do
Yeah,
remember that.
Yep.
so you were kind of like the selling point. My wife was like, "Yo, this kid is awesome. If the kids in the school are like him, like we can call this home. This is like." So you've always had like a special place there because you were like a part of the sell to Steinbrenner for us.
Hmm.
So it's
And
pretty
We're
crazy.
that's like 14 years ago now.
Yeah, man.
You're making me feel old, Pusky.
Oh, we're all
well,
getting
you're
there.
also one of the first graduating classes from Steinbrenner,
Yes,
like
sir.
from freshman all the way to senior,
Yes,
right?
sir. Inaugural class. So
That's
we're
it.
on class to go from I was what? So I graduated in 13, so my freshman year was '09
Oh nine.
when the school opened.
Listen, tell us, because there's only so many of us that have been around and were around in that day and age. Namely, like Coach Perez and I and Dave Hampton are the only ones back from that day, still
Hmm.
on the staff now. Tell the kids that are listening what football practice was like at Steinbrenner in 2009.
Man, these kids got it good, man. They had no idea.
Yeah.
First of all, y'all got turf now. So let's start there. My freshman year, that summer going into freshman year, we were still practicing at Martinez. We didn't even have a football field yet. The grass wasn't cut. We were out there. My dad was out there in his army boots. We was out there just grinding, man, doing push-ups, getting ant bites all over our hands, mosquitoes biting us. We're using sickles pads.
Yeah.
We're using Alonzo's pads, Gaither's stuff. Like none of our stuff said Steinbrenner. Everything else said some other school. Toby was working out in a Middleton Tigers shirt. Like
Yeah.
it was wild, man. And it
Yeah.
was it was honestly like a boot camp. I'd never been to boot camp, obviously, because I wasn't in the military, but that's the closest thing I could relate it to. But like those bonds that we created, like, I still talk to those guys. Like, I still talk to Juice, I still talk to KP, I still talk to Kyle. I mentioned
Yeah.
Toby, I still talk to him. You know what I mean? It's good to kind of like your closest friendships are forged in fires like that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I think one thing that has gotten lost in football and in youth sports in general, to be honest, is that grit. You know what I mean? Is that like real hard work and determination because like they got it so good now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they'll never experience what we had to experience. I think that was sophomore year during East Bay when it rained and it
Mm.
got all muddy and it turned back into a swamp and like
Yep.
we thought we were gonna be throwing the ball, and then all of a sudden, all we could do was run, and
Yep.
like it just changed everything. I ended up having to go in there to linebacker because I couldn't make any plays at corner. So it's like it was wild, man. Like those things just don't happen anymore, because people are pampered now.
Well, I remember that. Remember that year, that same year, that that south corner of the end zone stayed wet that whole season because
You
the
step on it
drainage.
and it would have like waves.
Yeah.
You'd see like waves in the field. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
We had to walk through it every day to get to practice.
Yep. And
Every day.
it was nasty because it was just stagnant water. And so there
Mhm.
was mosquitoes
You sit
everywhere.
on top of it.
Yeah. It was
You sit on
nasty.
top of it.
Yeah, listen,
And y'all had us doing up downs in it.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It
And
wasn't a good time.
Super healthy.
Yeah, like literally every day we had to wash the jerseys. Like if you didn't wash your jersey and you try to, it would like be like stiff, like underwear.
Mud.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it was like you had to wash your jerseys every day.
Yeah.
If not, you better wear a different shirt tomorrow. What I did just think about though, man, is y'all remember that Robinson game freshman year?
Yeah. Oh, the 50 to nothing at halftime or
50 to nothing
50.
at halftime, bro.
Do you know I remember
was
that night? I was not
miserable.
coaching with you, but I was at Jefferson and I was on a bye week. And I was sitting there checking scores around the county that night. And I'm like,
typo.
I swear to God, I turned to my wife. We were in Brandon, we had an apartment. And I was like, yo, this new school is getting beat 50 to nothing and it's halftime. I'm like, I could never coach in a school like that. That's crazy.
It was wild. But they scored 3 touchdowns before we got them to second down.
That's right.
Like he returned the opening kickoff.
That's it.
That was 6 and then 7, obviously. Then we threw like a pick 6, I think.
Pick 6 right away.
They got 7 more. And then we finally tackled and won the kickoff. And then the first play, they ran a dive.
They had that guy. Who was that running back that they had? He ended up playing somewhere.
They all did. I remember Ruben Gonzalez because
Ruben was nasty.
Ruben was nasty. Corner, so I remember having to guard him. Frankie Williams was there.
Frankie Williams was good.
I want to say John Franklin was their quarterback. I don't think that was him. I think he was at Armwood. Dang, what I remember him though, number 22, short light skin.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
No, I can't either. But they were loaded. And they had no mercy. I mean, it was very similar to remember the same kind of result when we played Jesuit that same year.
Oh, yeah.
That
was when Jake got hurt.
Yeah, and remember Coach Ross, when we were there at Jesuit. And then
I had graduated already. I didn't no,
that was the first
Travis
year.
Johnson. Yeah, that was when Travis Johnson and all them were there. You're right. I was there.
When Cody Kazin, I remember the story, gets laid out on the Jesuit sideline. And this is when Coach Ross is still there. He gets up because he was one of the running backs and kind of linebacker too, right? He gets up and this is Coach Ross's version of the story. He goes, one of our guys our linebacker lays out your guy on a kickoff. And this kid gets up and he's only 5 feet tall. And he looks at me and he says, we're here to kick your ass, coach. And jogs off. And
it was a different breed.
Oh, dude, you hit it nail on the head where if you kept putting the helmet and pads on in that day and age when we were like that, dude, you knew that eventually the tide would turn because that's just grit. That's just, guys, you're walking into the line of fire. You're walking into the lion's den, bro. And remember Jesuit at the time too. They were killing it. They were nasty.
And let's clarify for the folks that's going to watch this, like both of those teams ended up going deep in the playoffs. It wasn't like we were losing to some scrubs. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like this was our first year. We played a junior varsity season and a varsity season.
Yep.
We went 5-5 still.
Yep.
The games that we did lose, we lost by a large margin.
Hey, you ready? Listen to this roster. You got Frankie Williams. You got Byron Pringle.
Yeah,
Ruben Gonzalez. J.J. Hubbard.
That was
his name. It. There we go. The running back. Oh,
crazy roster. They were good, man. That was a good team.
Yeah.
And
listen,
a lot of the people in Hillsborough County in general during that time, like went on to play in the NFL.
Yeah, there was a group of y'all that it was a ton that just it was a different level. It was a different level. And being at Steinbrenner, remember when we played Strawberry Crest that year, that was the only time that we'd ever walked. Well, I'd walked into a game where we're like, man, we might stay in this one. We'll see.
That was the first game of the season too, man. I was still playing running back at the game.
You were, and we're at receiver or at running back.
I was playing receiver. You're right. I got a reverse. Yes. And then I tried to do some little league stuff.
Do you know what's crazy? I had to go probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I was like, I'm going to keep legit records for this program. I went back and watched every game from the first year that we found, like in one of Floyd's old CD holders. And it was painful. I'm not going to lie. It was hard to watch some of that. Yeah. But the dudes were fighting every play. They were always like they get back up. I'm like, man, these kids have some grit. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, and then a year or two later, they're 7-3, and like it was awesome to see that transition.
Yeah, man. Like it was really a process, man. And honestly, even segueing that into the rest of my life, like that moment and window in time taught me so much about life, about like just falling in love with the process and realizing that like when you start something, you're probably going to be trash. Like you're going to get beat up. People going to tell you no. People going to tell you suck. Like you're going to try your hardest and it's not going to be enough. Like a lot of different things that happen in this life, that are a microcosm of what happened there. But like what also happens is if you continue to persevere, you continue to have grit, you continue to push forward, you continue to focus and like don't give up on that goal. Like you just said, like we finished 7-3. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was, and I remember that season. Like that was, I still got that in my, over here, you can't see it, but I still got some of that Steinbrenner stuff hanging up, man.
Yeah.
Like being able to be a part of it and like knowing that like at the time, that was the best season we had ever had. And it held on for a little bit until y'all started getting
quite a long time.
Till we got Dean in them.
Yeah. That new wave came in. Dean, Dion.
Aiden Bitter.
Yeah, I was just about to say Aiden.
Hayden Carlson, all those guys.
You know what's crazy though is it doesn't matter how good you are in high school. Like you get to that next level and you're trash again. Like it doesn't matter how good you are. The dudes are so good at the next level and you have to start the whole process over.
Absolutely. You know what I find interesting. So 2 things, and this is a credit to Austin's craziness and that hot garage that he's sitting in. Like going to college, I feel as though like I was truly prepared, so like my freshman year, I was 2 freshmen played. One of them played special teams, and then I was the other one, and like I started half of the season. Hell yeah. So like the reason that was because of, waking up early in the mornings and going to work out with Coach Austin, like pushing the truck in the parking lot before a game, like just
game day.
Yeah, his crazy antics, like it put this stupidity and like insanity in my mind that like when I got to college and I was doing collegiate workouts, like obviously it was hard. I'm not gonna sit here and act like it was easy, but like I was not as dead as everybody else.
Yeah, you weren't struggling through the process.
Yeah, like it was like I was like, okay, this sucks, but like I felt worse, so like I can keep going, and then that allowed me to kind of be, I'm not gonna say a leader my freshman year, but to encourage others around me. You get what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like a semi-leader, I guess you could say, and like it paid off ultimately, but
yeah.
One thing that it taught me is success requires insanity.
Yep.
Everybody who's successful, they're crazy in some way, whether it be waking up early, whether it be being consistent. Like you got to do something that is like insanely disciplined, which looks like insanity. That's going to help you reach that goal that you're looking for,
And normal people don't get that. They're just like, oh my God, is this kid ever like what? That's all he does is work out. Yeah. Like, does he not have a life?
Listen, oftentimes, guys, those people who are most misunderstood are those who change the world. Because they see it in a different set of lenses. And I'm not one to put that finger on myself that I'm that same way. I think I'm just legitimately kind of crazy.
You're nuts. You're legitimately nuts.
But I think, but I think part of the preparation process, not just with me, but with anyone that's come in contact with me is that same thought process. Is if you think different, you move different, your results are going to be different. If you do the average things, you do just enough, you're just going to receive just enough. You're only going to get what you put into it. You're going to get out what you put into it. So if you're willing to be absolutely obsessed, absolutely nuts about something, whatever that might be, because if you look at some of the best comedians, if you look at some of the best actors and musicians, there's some crazy people. Look at a Picasso for a minute, right? And you're like, what the hell is that? Look at Salvador Dali, right? Hell, look at Michelangelo. You take up this huge piece of marble that he has drug in by horses, right? And on those little rollers. And all he has is hand tools. And they're like, what the hell are you going to do with that? And he's like, this is going to be a statue of a naked man. And I'm going to name it David. See how you giggled already? Imagine what they would have done in the 1500s, whenever that was. They were probably like, what is up with this guy?
Until they saw it.
Until you saw it. You saw the product.
And then you're like, damn, David.
Damn, David.
All right.
It's cold in here, ain't it, David? Ooh. But I think
isn't there what's the dude that painted like the Sixtine Chapel? Didn't he go blind?
What was
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo.
Oh, Michelangelo?
Oh,
okay. Same person.
It was one of the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. But I think that's what for the seasons that you were with us and the seasons that you and I worked out together personally, I think by the end of it, I knew when you left us that you were going to be successful, because not because I could see you getting stronger and faster and all those things, but I could see you getting crazier. Because we used to live in the same neighborhood. For one, your dad was like, "Are you crazy?" I made Trey push my diesel truck up and down the parking lot at Steinbrenner before a game. And Trey did it and didn't even think about it. Everyone else is watching movies in the classroom, and Trey's out there pushing backwards, pushing forwards. And his dad comes out and goes, "Are you crazy? Are you trying to burn my son's legs up?" I said, "Trust me, he's not going to get a ton of work today, but when he does, they can't hold a candle to him." And I think that game, you got an interception. The 5 times they threw at you, you knocked every single one of them down, and you got a pick. And I was like, you were like, "I'm bored."
Yeah,
like that. But
we were playing Riverview, and they ran like the Power Eye or something like that, like wing T or something, So out there in the corner, you don't get a lot of action when it's a wing T.
No, but I do remember also, and this is, like I said, where I knew that you were going to be successful was when we lived in the same neighborhood. It was before we had the boys. I had a gym in our house that was upstairs, and Trey lived in the neighborhood that was like probably 2 blocks away.
This is Chinese drywall house. I remember this.
Yeah. And I text Trey because I was pissed off about something. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to throw around some weight. And I said, you know what, Trey, I'm going to text Trey. 1 a.m, I text him, "Hey, time to lift," and expecting 0 response. And I get the text back, "I'm on the way." I thought, wait a minute. And so I was kind of surprised, but even more so, about 10, 15 minutes later, Trey shows up at the door, but he's riding a longboard, like skateboard. He skateboarded all the way to my house. He was already
longboard to college.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But then remember that I was like, you know what? We're just going to squat until our legs hurt. And then we tried to go down the stairs after we squatted, and it was miserable. But at that point, we were like, well, we had a baby pool. And I go, let's go sit in the baby pool, because we put ice in it and water in it. It didn't work out that well, but I was like, I'm going to bed, Trey. And Trey's like, I don't know how I'm going to get my skateboard back.
Yeah,
but
I sat out there for a little bit longer, and then eventually garnered up the strength.
Yeah, but that's how I knew. That had to be 2:00 in the morning. You were like, you know what? But I think those kind of behaviors, like to piggyback off what you're saying, those kind of behaviors don't happen no more. people are not willing to suffer in order to succeed, because there's only one path to your success is through a whole lot of suffering. And the depth at which you're willing to suffer has everything to do with the height of your success. I mean, it's weird because I talk to a lot of people nowadays. And when we were kids, when Coach Greg and I were kids, the term hustle, right? The term hustle used to mean move fast. But in business and entrepreneurship, it meant, you're here early. Yeah, you're here early, you leave late, you provide great customer service, and the product or service you provide is top notch. Where in today's day and age, talking to a Gen Zer in the clinic, right? And I'm asking him, and he said, I got to just hustle, hustle, hustle. I said, what does that mean? And hustling nowadays means, how much can I make doing as little as possible?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's hard, because, and the thought I finished on it with him, what made him think, I said, you don't have to answer, but I said, in order to do that, where you're cutting corners, you're finding shortcuts, then is it okay for you to cheat, to steal, and to lie in order for someone to pay you money? Because you're going to have to do it if you're not coming up with the right product, with the right customer service, and you're not hustling the way we used to hustle. What do you bring into the table aside from the bare minimum?
You got a different outlook on it, though. I think the Trey Johnsons of the world are still with us and still there. I think they're just a lot more hidden now because of social media, right? So that guy that you talked to, he saw a TikTok where someone's like, you got to hustle, you got to get passive income because then you can live easy. Now, him and his 300 friends are like, oh, we got to get passive income. They have no idea what that means. But there's still people busting their butts and still working. You don't see them because they don't talk about it. They just get to work. You see is the people yapping and chatting.
Yep. There has never been a substitute for a hard and honest day's work. No matter how much Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates is going to try to automate this world to make it easy, someone still has to dig the ditches. Someone still has to build the houses and the roads. Talk to a guy that builds roads. I got him, as patients of mine. Those people work hard and they ain't scared. They ain't scared of a hot day. They ain't scared of a cold day. They ain't scared of a 12-hour, 15-hour day where they are laboring. And I'm like, if that could just rub off on some of the kids now, even a percentage of that, then what would happen is you'd have so much more of a competitive society that we live in now. You know what I'm saying? What up, boys? Hold on a sec.
What's up, boys?
The cameo. See, look, it's Trey.
What's up, dude?
Say hi. Okay, you're cameoing, and then Samson cameoing.
Sam, what's up?
There you go.
My dudes.
There you go.
There it is. Okay.
There it is. All right. Love you, boys. Oh, where you go? Nope, I'm good. I'm good. All right.
Hey, Austin, snap into a Slim Jim.
Bye-bye. Away you go.
Dude, that was a chance for
sponsorship. Love y'all.
He
said that's a chance for a sponsorship.
Yeah, you just ruined our sponsorship with Slim Jim.
Yeah, but listen, I'm not trying to put that meat in my mouth for a sponsorship. You know what I'm saying? Well, hey, come here. Wait a minute. Hey. Oh, wait, we have to cut that part out. Just kidding. You're good.
You're a different breed, Austin.
Yeah, I don't think that. You know what? I think the 41 people that are subscribed probably. I'm pretty sure they're like. I'm pretty sure they think that's off color, but they might laugh, or they might unsubscribe. Please don't unsubscribe. That Slim Jim, like and follow.
you brought up a good point, man. Well, two good points. One of them, it made me think about that poster that's hanging up behind you. That quote by Nick Saban. Where it talks about when you want to be good, it takes what it takes. I don't know exactly what it says, but a lot of people trying to cut corners, trying to take it the easy route. So seeing that every day kind of helped me. And then what Puskies was talking about is I feel like, for me, I'm kind of in betweener. Like I'm not a part of Gen Z, but I got to see Gen Z, and I remember life like Instagram came out when I was like in middle school. Like I remember like seeing like social media like grow and become a thing, and like I had flip phones and Blackberries and like, you know what I mean? And like seeing technology develop, like, so I got to kind of see it all happen while growing alongside of it. And I think these kids just work smarter, not harder, to like a whole nother level. You know what I mean? Where like it becomes laziness, and like life is really about balance. And yes, you're supposed to work smarter, not harder, but like you still have to work hard while you're working smart,
Yeah.
And if you throw that balance off and you start leaning more towards one side or more towards the other, like people start to be a detriment. You know what I mean? If you work too hard, yourself becomes a detriment.
See, and I've leaned into that in the classroom. It's been hard for me because I'm getting older and technology, I used to be like on the forefront of it, right? And now it's just taking off. And these kids are exceptional with technology. And so, like, there's legitimately assignments in class now where I'm having them use AI because they're going to use it to cheat.
Yeah.
Because they can get anything they want from it. But I'm having them use AI to kind of create lessons and to come up with new ways to do things. It's pretty cool. So I think a lot of the way they do things is seen as laziness, but I think that in some ways a lot of these kids are advanced in ways that we don't understand. So we're like, oh, they're lazy. Now there's definitely lazy kids. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's just it's a different time where there's so many different ways that you can kind of build your path in a unique way. And the dudes who grind, they do it quietly. You don't see from them, and you don't hear from them very often. You just see the outcome, and you're like, "Oh man, that guy's a freak." No, well, you know what? It took a lot of work to do and to get to where he is now.
Yeah.
We used to tell our guys, a lot of our Polar Pop guys, remember that we had to suffer in silence. We used to, before it was at my house, we actually would go to Calusa Trace Park, which was absolutely miserable. There's not a shade of, there's not a stitch of shade. There's dog poop everywhere. There's deer poop everywhere. There's sandy spots. Oh yeah. But I think, kids can still work hard. I think Gen Zers, millennials, they still will work hard for you. And this is what I found out in the last probably decade of coaching or so, is the difference is back even as early as when you were in high school, we said something and you guys just did it because there was an innate trust in authority figures. There was an innate trust in experts in their field, where nowadays you can get the Gen Zers to do stuff, but you have to answer the universal question, why? But again, that also, although it's bad, it's good.
Good also.
Yeah. It exposes those people who really are talking straight out of their buttholes.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Facts. And now people who used to say
we weren't brave enough to ask why.
No, hell no.
Because we knew what would happen.
That's why.
we all have been there. But I think, like I said, I do have hope for the Gen Zers currently, because I think that if you just answer that question, there's some logic to your answer. And really, sometimes when there isn't, because I still use the same logic that I used with Trey back in the day with the kids now.
And I said so.
Well, and they shake their heads, but they don't ever say anything, but they still do the work. Like I remember out the sandbag incident with Trey. You want to tell that story, Trey? You want me to tell it?
Yeah, I can tell it for you.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So you mentioned Calusa Trace. This was a Calusa Trace incident. We had these sandbags that we were working out with, and we're like doing like clean and jerks with them pretty much, right? So we're doing this over and over and over, and I'm like, yo, this thing is heavy. It was raining that day too.
Yep.
So it was wild. This was a tough Sunday morning. And we always would talk while we're out there, because talking just kind of makes things easier, like especially when you're working out. So I eventually asked the question, I'm like, yo, like how much does this thing weigh? Like what is going on in here? And he's like, oh, well, well, I think he said it's 250. He was like, it's 250-pound sandbags. 260-pound sandbags inside of here. So he's like, it's like at least like around 90 pounds. And I'm like, so I keep going. And then like I put it down and I go, 60 plus 60 is at least 120, Austin. Like at least. And it's raining. Like there's no way that this is just 90 pounds. And then he does that. He just starts and he just keeps working. I think he was flipping the tire or something. And I'm like, And then
Oh,
everybody out there just kind of stopped for a second and like actually thought about like what we were doing and that we're following this dude who can't do 60 plus 60 workout, and
oh.
we're trusting him with our future of athletics.
But listen, they kept lifting, and
Yeah.
I think even though the math was completely off, Trey did probably 5 or 6 reps before the math kicked in,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I was just being me. I'm like, hey, listen, 265-pound bags, man, it's about 90 pounds. Trey goes, okay, just like it was 90 pounds.
Hmm.
He throws it down because it's probably about 150 pounds. He's like,
It was heavy, Austin.
it was heavy as hell. It was
It was
heavy as
heavy.
hell.
Like
It
But
was
that was
heavy,
a heavy
Austin.
sandbag.
yeah,
Like,
but
that's what made me ask the question.
yeah,
Like,
but remember, once
I wasn't curious.
once
yeah,
we
like I
got
just didn't want to know. It was
once we
tough.
got the real answer, then what ended up happening is people started struggling. People said,
Yeah.
"Go, oh, this is heavy." Oh, when they thought it was 90 pounds, boy, they were throwing that thing around like it was nothing. That's part of the mental game
Mind game.
that we try to play. Because I remember also in this room, remember
Yeah,
this
I was
used to,
just about to say that about the fan.
there you go. We used to run 30 and 30s in here. I still do them now by myself, but when Trey was young, and when the other of that new generation of studs that went through Steinbrenner,
Hmm.
we do
I did one with
this.
Dean and Dion and all them
Yeah,
too.
it's called a 30 and 30. You do 30 rounds of an exercise for 30 seconds. You get 30 seconds on as fast and as hard as you can move this weight or as many reps as you can get. And then you get 30-second break. And then you just rotate around in the 30 by 30. But in this room now, and currently, just by the way, as an aside, I haven't changed since our first practice today, which was our first spring practice today.
Oh yeah.
And Coach Perez and Coach Puskis, as we were leaving, they asked me a question which was not insulting at all, but I had to think about it. They said, "Do you know what deodorant is?"
What? I said that?
And I'm telling you, in this room, it's probably about 90 degrees currently. Yeah, I'm smelling me. This is
Yeah,
not a
bro.
good.
It's hot in there.
It needs some. Then not only is the
That's
heat getting
karma.
me,
That's karma right there.
not only is the heat getting me, my BO is. I need some mental strength to get through this right now. But go back to it. We would go through these rounds. Imagine 3 or 4 guys in this room. And windows would fog up. That mirror would
Yeah,
be
that mirror would
foggy.
be so fogged. You couldn't even see yourself.
Dripping sweat. And what I do is about round 10-ish or so, I'd go like that and go, oh, that feels great. Hey, you feel that? And Trey's like, are you nuts? And I'm like, no, there's AC there. Feel it. Oof.
And it's
It
not
feels so
on.
good. And it's not.
Like that's what the people need to understand. The fan is not on. Austin is just standing in front of it, imagining AC going out of it. And
But
he's talking to us about it. And I'm like, dude, just press the button and please cut it on. Like we're
No,
gonna
no, no, no,
die.
no.
but guess what? I'll tell you what, that those kind of mind games, they worked. They worked and more for myself because I was like, in my head, I'm like, there's no way I'm letting Trey, there's no way I'm letting Dean, I'm not letting them see that I'm actually hurting. Like this is I'm struggling because I can't breathe in here because it's hella hot in here. But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go one step further. I'm gonna make him seem like I'm actually having fun in here. And these guys are so competitive that they were like, yeah. No, let's keep going. Let's get another round.
Yeah.
Let's do another one. And I think again, phenomenally, success is not an accident. It never is. And some people look at you and look at us and they go, wow, that person was incredibly successful. I want that too. But if they only really knew to the depths of what you had to do, what you put yourself through on purpose, right? To get to where you're at, to get all those things that are behind you in those trophy cases and such. Like that ain't an accident. Success is the only success, accident that's successful is winning the lottery. And that's completely chance. Every luck and any luck that you've got, you make. And I'm a firm believer of that too, is if you're not willing to dig the ditches and you're not willing to pave the roads, man, you ain't getting anywhere. You're going to stay exactly in place. Denzel Washington said, you know, don't confuse movement with progress, because you can be running in place and get nowhere.
And be running fast too.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of components to being successful, but I think we used every trick of the trade with your generation of guys, and you can see it. You can see those guys. KP is phenomenal. He's living his best life now. John Mark, dude, the whole group with Jake Carroll and Hubbard, and all them guys, Parker Scorencheck, all those guys went through that same mud that you guys were in before we got the turf. But, ironically, right, people think that growth happens anywhere, happens everywhere. But if I took this seed and I threw it on the concrete, that seed ain't growing.
Yeah,
the only real true growth happens when you take that seed and you bury it deep in the mud, because in that mud is where all the nutrients are, is where all the moisture is. So just around the corner that you're ready to bud, your leaves are ready to poke out of that mud. And a lot of people quit right before they see the daylight, because they're like, damn, I'm in the mud. I've been in the mud for a long time. I'm never getting out. Where they don't realize growth is just on the cusp, and it's only 1 millimeter at a time, one day at a time. So yeah, I'm glad we put you through that. And some of those stories still are funny, but I see it in you now. I hear it when you talked to a lot of the guys that you see moving forward. The guys look at you, Trey, and you are in Lutz and at Steinbrenner for sure. And we talked about pioneers, we talked about trailblazers, and 100% for the football program. You're one of the guys, because you, John Mark, and KP for sure in that generation were the quintessential student athletes. I mean, and that's more important. It's one thing to be a fantastic athlete nowadays, but those guys now are not only great athletes, but they're incredible students because of that discipline, because of that sacrifice that they're willing to make in every portion of their life, not just when it's the most convenient, not if it means I can just hustle. You know what I mean? Just get buried in the dirt and let's get moving. So, I mean,
you just reminded me of one of my favorite quotes. It's along the same line. It's sometimes when you're in a dark place and you feel like you've just been buried, you've actually just been planted. And I think it's how you look at it. Like, life's hard. Like, you get put in some situations in your life that ever think you're going to be in. And that's not me. And then you get there, and I mean, just think about injury in college. Is there anything worse than watching your team go out on the field? You're just sitting there, and it's awful,
bro.
It's dark, man. You go to some places. But I want to talk to you a little bit about you and Toby, two professional football players that have come through Steinbrenner. Toby made his way in the CFL, had a nice little career, just retired, and you made it to the big show. Every single player that puts pads on Friday night thinks they're going to play in the NFL, whether they're first string, second string, third string. There's not a lot of reality all the time to the thought process, because I want to play one day for the Buccaneers. I want to play. The thought's there. I want to play in college. Like, I have guys who will come up to me and be like, Coach, I want to play in college. And I'm like, all right, well, what are you doing to get there? Right now, you're like a fourth string guy. So I'm not saying it's not possible, but what are you doing? So let's talk about that process a little bit. Like, how long did you play in the NFL?
3 years.
3 years?
So, well, no, technically 2. So I played 1 year in CFL. So 3 years professional football, 2 years in the NFL, 1 year CFL. But a lot of people don't realize that those that have made it to the NFL have a different phrase for what it stands for. It stands for not for long. So I'm actually technically the average NFL player. So the average NFL career lasts about 2.5 to 3 years. So everybody hears, Tom Brady, they hear about all these people that got like 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years in the
Mm,
league. Like they're 1% of 1%.
correct.
You know what I mean? Like they're a decimal point. So like that's just not the reality. There's a lot of people that have been turned over into the league that like they just kind of fell by the wayside and you don't even really know who they are unless like, for me, for example, unless you're in Lutz. You feel what I'm saying? If I go up to like Philly or like if I go over to like let's say a random city in Arizona,
Blend
like,
in.
yeah, bro, who the heck is
Yeah.
Trey Johnson? Like, who are
Yeah.
you? Like so yeah, a lot of people don't recognize, man, that there's one, it's a short window of time. Everybody talks about that 10 seconds, 15 seconds of fame. It's a lot of life that happens after that. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
prayerfully, I turned 30 in September. Hopefully I'm not even halfway done with my life. I hope to live past 60. So I at least got more than half of my life to keep going. And I still got to find a way to provide an income. Still got to find a way to provide an impact. I still got to find a way to, make a difference in this world. And I can't hitch my wagon on my only difference being the fact that I was able to run real fast and make a tackle and make interceptions and put a helmet on and run into people. Like there's so much more to life than football and there's so much more to life. But the way that football is praised and the way that it's like fantasized and the way that it's dreamed about, and then you got all these NIL deals and like all this money being thrown around, man. It's like it's good. So I don't want that to be taken as like I'm against NIL deals. I'm not. I think NIL deals are great. I think that the way that NIL deals can be utilized isn't the greatest though. I think it's like it's hurtful to college football now
Mhm.
because you're not going to play college football because you have pride in the university or because like you want to take part in being part of something big. Like you're just going for a paycheck,
That's it.
and
That's
like
it.
that's not love. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yep.
That's where it's so hard because it's so hard to fault a kid who comes from nothing and they have a chance to like put their family on the map now. And then, but then you're like, bro, like you're in your fourth school in 4 years, like
Yeah.
you have no loyalty. But how do you fault him for what he's doing? It's so
Facts,
hard.
facts. I feel you. And honestly, like even in a way I'm happy that I wasn't in college with NIL deals. And then obviously in a way I'm sad because I definitely feel like I would have got one. You know what I mean? But like I'm happy I'm not because like I don't know how I would have responded to that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
these people
And
are
you're
throwing
okay not
millions,
knowing.
Yeah.
huh?
So you're okay not knowing.
Yeah. These people throwing around millions of dollars, man.
Yeah.
Like, like a million when I was in college and I'm eating ramen noodles all the time and I'm struggling to
Yeah.
use Nova Bucks and swipes
Yeah.
and stuff
Your
like
your
and
your
I'm going
card.
to sleep hungry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm taking a meal. Absolutely, I'm transferring.
Yeah.
So like
Well, one thing I think that you and I and even Coach Greg got out of it that some of these new college football or the landscape of college football is the purity of the game. Like you
yeah,
said, you went to that school and then you fell in love with the school. You fell in love with the tradition. You fell in love with, everything about that town because that's really all you had. That was what hinged you to that town. Football was just the conduit, but then you ended up falling in love with that actual institution and the traditions that come with it. Now it's a business, and it's sad because the business of every industry is now on the forefront. Like how do we make money doing XYZ? Now there's millions, hundreds of millions of bucks already out there, but
yeah,
there's not that many pure things left in the world. And
yeah,
thankfully, sport, the way it's cut and the way it's laid out, sports are always going to be of the purest things that human beings can do because it is the greatest distraction to real life. Because you can't tell me that you looked up at a scoreboard one time and the clock is ticking down and you thought that the world was going to end once that clock hit zeros. You know what
mhm,
I mean? Like we got
yeah,
to block, we got to block this ball. We got to get some more points here. Or it's overtime, right?
yeah.
The world is not going to end,
Mhm.
but that is, Yeah, it feels like it, right? But
It's because you're so captivated by the moment. You know what I
that's
mean?
it.
You're so in tune with like, I'm so present right here in this space and in this place. Like nothing else matters that's going
Right.
on in this life. And that's honestly, man, like that's so 2 points. I was talking to some of the kids that I train about that right now. Like they asked me like, yo, like what do you miss the most? I was like, honestly, high school football.
Yeah.
Like before it was a business. Like, and like truly just falling in love with the game and being able to like be with my best friends. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It wasn't about no paycheck. It wasn't about how many likes I'm gonna get. It wasn't about nothing. It was just about being close to people and like suffering with them and alongside of them.
Yep.
And then on top of that, man, like I think about the peace that you get on that field. Like, yes, it's chaos that's going on, but like there's real life things that people deal with. And like football was one of the greatest outlets for me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And like being able to like when you're angry, it's great to go run full speed into somebody else.
Yeah.
Like that, you're never gonna be that mad no more.
Oh
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
like, a lot of, and we talk about that life after football. A lot of athletes struggle with that. I struggled with that, to be honest. Like coming out of it, of like, how do you find that outlet now? Like it ain't like I don't get angry no more. Like I
Yeah.
still get mad, I still get frustrated, I still get stressed. You
Yep.
know what I mean? I still have these negative emotions, but I just can't go put on my helmet and go run full speed into somebody no more.
Yep.
So you have to find other ways to deal with it. And like it can be a struggle finding those things, you know what I mean? And finding those ways to cope in a healthy way.
Well, tell me, and clearly, you know me, and we've known each other a long time. This is my outlet.
Mhm.
And and this has been my outlet for 20 years after I finished playing. Um, what, now that you've been away from the game for some years now, what do you find consistently as your outlet to lean on when things get rough?
It's a couple of different things. One is God. Honestly,
Mm.
my faith in God has gotten significantly stronger.
Yep.
Staying consistent in my word, staying consistent in prayer and doing things like that definitely helps, grant that peace. But outside of that, like actual tangible things, no
Yep.
matter what you believe in, writing helps me. Going out by the lake, like, or really any type of water. Thankfully, and where I live at now, I have a lake. So I'll go walk out by the lake, go to the beach. If you're not in Florida, I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, taking walks. Honestly, like having accountability people, like we talked about Juice. Like I was on the phone with Juice last week, like calling people that I know, people that I love, people that I grew up with, and just checking in with them. You know what I mean? And just having a conversation and venting and communicating those battles that you're having on the day to day. Communicating, hey, like I'm struggling with this right now. Hey, I had this thought and I don't want to have it no more. And like, doing things like that is like of major benefit and has been of major help to me, So you gotta have community around you,
Yep.
And
community,
it's yeah,
fighting and walking,
Yeah,
honestly.
the strength
and
strength
it's
is always
awesome.
in numbers. Always
You
in
always
numbers.
had you've had since high school that community. I mean, I remember, and I'm a little fuzzy on. I'm old now, but I remember there was a car accident, and
Yeah,
I think it was you or
that
Case
was
or
me.
yeah, and
That
I
was me.
remember John Mark. You were freaking out. You were a mess, and John Mark came up. He's like, "Bro, you there's only one Trey, and you're still here. That's all that matters." And
Dang, man, you about to make me emotional, bro.
dude,
Hey,
like
that's for
those
real.
dudes have all you guys have always had each other, bro.
Yep. It's crazy, but it's important.
Yeah, that night was crazy. I tell that story often. That was a Tuesday night. I hit a concrete light pole in Cheval, speeding, leaving John Mark's house. Hit a concrete light pole. The light pole split in half and fell on top of the car, and the whole car was completely totaled. John Mark came up there and was talking to me. He definitely talked me off the ledge. He said that quote because I was distraught because they got there before my parents did. And I'm like, bro, like my mom's gonna be so mad about this car. He's like, bro, like y'all can buy another car.
Yeah.
Like we can't get another Trey. Um,
But how crazy is it? I've been coaching 20 years now, and I still remember that. You know what I mean? From
yeah,
all the stuff from you guys in high school, that sticks out to me because I'm like, damn, these kids get it. Like
Yep.
yeah.
they've got
And
each other.
those,
This is family. Those are the moments that I remember, and that's what I think is so cool.
Bigger than
what's
football.
Yeah, way bigger, way bigger. But what's even crazy about that story, man, is like I said, that was a Tuesday night, and this just kind of shows like, what football can do for you. I went to the hospital that night, obviously. And like I was completely fine. Like I'm communicating with them the way that I am now. And the doctors were like baffled. They're like, yo, like, why are you not messed up right now? They're seeing the pictures of the car and everything, and they're like, yo, like, it should be worse. And then he came back in and he's like, do you play any sports? Say, yeah, I play football. He's like, it makes sense now. He's like, your body can't tell the difference between the impact. He's like, all it knows is that you just got hit. And every time you make a tackle or you get hit on the football field, it's a car crash. So he's like, tomorrow you're gonna wake up feeling sore like you just played in the game, and then you'll be fine. And literally, so that was Tuesday. Wednesday I didn't practice because I was sore. Thursday we had walkthroughs in the morning. I did walkthrough, and then Friday I played in the game.
Wow.
So it's like your
Amazing.
body, it goes to show like that hard work, like your body truly does become like callous to pain.
Armor.
I think not only is that physical, but it's also mental. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you train like Coach Austin has a saying, he used to always say professional sufferers.
Yeah.
Like if you constantly make yourself suffer on purpose, when life tries to make you suffer, it's kind of like, all right, like it ain't really nothing, bro. Like I suffered worse than this yesterday, and I didn't.
That's
I was
right.
thinking about this, man. This was crazy. I truly believe we have one of the best coaching staffs in the state of Florida. Like
Absolutely.
it's not always just football knowledge. Like we have guys that care about their players. We have guys that will do anything for their guys. And we put some awesome players into college and through our program. And I just truly can't think of, and this doesn't take away from any of the coaches or what they do, but I can't think of almost anybody that has taken that step to the next level without your workouts and your mental pounding on Sundays and Thursdays and Tuesdays. And it's pretty cool to just look back at. You look at all the guys that came through our program who have gone on to be super successful. They have great knowledge on the football field from our coaches, but then there's just a different level from the guys that come through your training sessions. And I mean, just look at the history. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The people who are most misunderstood are the ones that end up changing the world. These are Trey's just rolling on 30. He doesn't even realize yet the impact he's going to have in hundreds and thousands of people's lives. He's a world changer. He don't know it yet. He's about to find out. And like I said,
man.
hey, keep digging. Keep growing, because that's where you're at right now. You sometimes you think, man, you're stuck in the dirt. I'm never getting out of here. Keep on digging, but you'll find it.
What I do want to do, man, is double down on what Coach Puskis just said, man, and keep giving you your flowers, Austin. Like what you have done, what you are doing has been extremely impactful, not only in my life, but like in hundreds of kids' lives. And on top of that, like it's gonna be families that you're impacting, man, because kids are gonna get married, these kids are gonna have kids, and then those kids might even end up going through Steinbrenner, going through the same thing, you know what I mean? And I would not have made it where I was if it was not for those workouts. And like you pouring into me not only during the workouts, but like, yeah, we talked about like that workout where I came on my longboard, but like when we were sitting in that kiddie pool, like we had a conversation. And I remember coming over to your house and watching that war movie. And you were talking about, and you were talking to me and telling me about like how life is a war and like the analogy you made, and like those conversations like stuck in my head. And like I would be going through tough situations and be going through things, and like I would think back and be like, yo, like this is what he's talking about. Like I'm gonna be straight. Like, you know what I mean? I just gotta keep going, this is just this or this is just that. And like you have made an impact. And I know you don't like taking
No,
compliments.
it's the best. It's the best look at right now. He's so uncomfortable listening to this.
He's trying to find a way to throw it off of him, but you're gonna take this compliment, bro.
Who y'all talking about?
Put your hands down. Put your hands down and breathe.
I blinked out for a second. Who y'all talking about?
You're talking about you, Austin, and how great you are, man, and how much we love you.
Man, I'm thinking about how sweaty my armpits are right now. Because I'm and I can smell it. I got to keep my arms tucked in because I'm smelling it.
But I've been there.
But hey, I appreciate it. I oftentimes you're right. I'm a big deflector because I've come to realize my role in life is not to be the shining. I'm not the light bulb. I'm the light bulb holder. You know what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
back there and you are the light bulb. I just hold you in place. That's my job. And so it's hard sometimes for me because it's something that your job and your role, right? You in the Bill Belichick's one of his greatest quotes is, and when you walk into Foxborough, it says it right on the wall. Well, at least it used to. It says, "Know your role, do your job."
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, I realized that my job is not to be the light bulb and shine. My job is to be the bracket that holds the light bulb in place. So, yeah,
What's
it's weird.
important, what's important, Austin, is every person you come in contact with every day, you tell them you love them because you never know when you're going to see them again. But
Exactly.
it's okay. But it's important to make sure that you know that you're loved too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't feel weird about that. It's okay.
It's always it's good. I I when I first met Coach Ross, I'll tell you the story because we got to close everyone's yelling at me again because we're doing a Monday Night Lights, but it's been awesome. I really have appreciated the conversation, especially with Trey. Trey's actually very, very well spoken.
You can
One of
talk for
the
hours, man.
Yeah, dude,
Y'all my people. Like this, yeah,
hours,
this is a podcast, but like this is
hours.
y'all are my family for real.
Yeah, I could sit here for hours and we could just keep chopping it up. But I
Yeah.
do remember when I first met Coach Ross, and I intentionally, just by versions of experiences growing up and where I grew up and the experiences you have with death and violence and stuff. Every guy I meet, I try to tell him I love him. Every guy I meet, I try to hug. I'm not just a handshaker. I'm not just I try to show my love because there have been points in times in my life where I didn't growing up, and that person never showed up the next day. And it happened multiple times growing up. So I swore to myself, listen, I need to make sure that this is something that happens. And 2010, when Coach Ross jumps on our staff, he leaves Jesuit and he comes onto our staff. He's a guy that was in the Navy in the Vietnam War, just real man's man. And
Yeah.
I walk up to him every single day and I go, "Hey Joe, I love you. Give me a hug." And I could see it made him super uncomfortable as you guys complimented me. Like it was palpably uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And he stops me about game 6 and he goes, and it's just he and I in the training room, right? And he goes, "I got to ask you this question. Is there something wrong with you?" He goes, "You keep telling me you love me. Is there something wrong with you?" And in only the way that Joe Ross could say it,
Yeah, I'm sure he
and
didn't say that
I'm
exactly.
Some
I'm
other
just
words in there.
I'm
Yeah.
paraphrasing,
Yeah.
but I said to Joe, and I dug this straight out of experience, right? I'm like, "Hey, you know what? When you die, and because you're the oldest guy in the stat, you're gonna die first. I mean, like just the statistics are there. You're gonna know that at least one person in this world loves you." And his face changed. Like I was just being smartass, but at the same time digging from an experience I've had too many times in my childhood. And
Mhm.
I saw his, and the connection we made was because I knew or I assume that when he was in the Vietnam War, that exact same thing happened,
Yeah.
where guys would go out on a mission and they wouldn't come back.
It's
So
hard.
that moment we connected, and although we don't connect on any other level politically, financially, like even we can't even cheer for the same sports teams. That's one thing that Coach Ross won't ever let pass by is I walk by him, I tell him I love him, I give him a hug, dude, without even a blink. I think if I had
Love you
to,
too.
yep, if we go back to you guys complimenting me about, um, you know, making impacts in people's lives and kids, right? And people, that what I think is be one of my biggest wins
Mhm.
is winning Joe Ross over because it's you can
Smart move.
imagine, yeah, you can imagine the life that people live. I mean, sometimes you can't, you can assume, but at the same time, when you look at another person, you have to know that either they are looking at a storm, they are sitting in the storm, or they have just passed through a storm. nobody can, anyone that says to you, man, the skies are perfect where I'm at. There's not a single cloud in the sky. You lying. And I that's
You're an Instagram model.
yeah. And so that's why I'm trying to that's I think how I live, because there's only really 2 days you can't control in this life, right? It's yesterday because it's over, and it's tomorrow because that ain't promised to you. You know what I mean? And so that's why I always make sure when I leave people, I hug them, I tell them I love them, and if that's the only impact I can make in the world, then at least you knew when it's your turn that at least one person loved you because they told you. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, off we go. Not to get mushy and too sentimental. Okay, we could talk forever, guys, but I do appreciate you, Trey. You know I love you like my own, and Pusky, you know I love you too. You guys are my boys. Have a great night.
Not
Thank you for
yet.
joining.
Don't forget the end.
The end. Go ahead.
We need some knowledge from
Ooh,
one of the pillars of Steinbrenner football to the
drop it.
youngsters going through the grind. Now we started spring today. I'm going to be honest with you, not our most complete roster we've ever had coming into spring, but damn man, I was proud of the kids today. Like we worked. Like
Grinding.
it looked good today. Like
Yeah.
for a first day, there wasn't a whole lot of like
Nah.
sluggishness. There wasn't a whole lot of miscues. Like dudes were working, and I loved it. I was excited.
So what Coach Puskas is saying is, before we leave every episode, we always take our pioneers, our pillars, like yourself, and we say, and we ask them to talk like you were talking to the kids now, and give them some motivation. Day one into spring practice, 16, 15 more days, and what do you have for them? Pull something out of
It's a nugget.
yeah, pull a nugget out of there.
I always got nuggets, man. I got a lot of one-liners, but you mentioned Coach Ross, and one of his ones is sticking out in my head right now. He used some other words, but I'll use the PG version. Excuses are like buttholes. Everybody has one, and most of the time it's filled with crap. So
that's a good one.
Realize that spring sucks, but you got to do it. And on top of that, like your fall season is starting right now. Like how you prepare in spring, how you prepare throughout the summer and in the off season is what's going to dictate what your 2025 season looks like. You know what I mean? And what impact y'all make. And for those seniors, like some of y'all, it's going to be the last time you ever play football. You know what I mean? And
most of them.
For all of y'all, it's going to be the last time you play football for Steinbrenner. It's like, what type of legacy do you want to leave? What type of impact do you want to leave? Like those kids those juniors that are coming up behind you, sophomores, freshmen, like what type of a leader do you want to be? What type of like remembrance do you want to leave? Like, do you want to be remembered as a kid that could have, or like that was too lazy, or this or that, or whatever excuse is, or you want to be remembered as a kid that gave it everything you could and made something happen out of it, whether that be on a football field or that be in life. You know what I mean? Because again, life is so much more than just football, man. Football teaches you a lot about life, but football is not your life.
Yeah.
Nuggets.
Be sure you put your best foot forward.
That's it. Nuggets. Love it. I appreciate you. Pusky, you're getting up early. Make sure you get to bed. I got to get up early because we're working out. Trey.
I don't sleep.
I'll be up early too, man. Just because I don't come over there on Tuesday mornings no more don't mean I don't be up.
Yeah, 5 a.m. No, I believe it. I know you're built different like that. I know you're successful, but we appreciate you. Thank you for finally our schedules lining up so we can get you on, man. We got to get you on again because, like I said, we could chop it up for hours with you. I hope everyone who's listening listens all the way to the end because this was a phenomenal one, a banger, the kids say.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I appreciate both of y'all. I love you all so much.
Hey man, before we leave, man, I definitely want to tell both of y'all that I love y'all and I appreciate both of y'all. You know what I mean? I made a really big impact in my life, Coach Puskis and Coach Austin. You know what I mean? Trey Johnson wouldn't be Trey Johnson that he is today if it wasn't for you two pouring into me back in high school. And I appreciate it. I love y'all and thank y'all for having me on here.
Love you and appreciate you, my man.
Oh, love you, boy. We'll see you.
All right.
All right, guys.
See ya.